Greetings, welcome, and thank you so much for joining me. It's Christian of Standing Stones Healing, and as always, I am honored to welcome you and to have you here with me. So, thank you so very much. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you joining me and tuning in. And of course, if you are not with us live, if you cannot join us live, yes, indeed, thank you so much for tuning in on the replay as well. So, thank you for being here, whether you are live or you are on the replay, no matter when you are tuning in, whether it is today or 10 years from now. Welcome, welcome. Please feel free to say hello. Please feel free to drop it in the comments and let us know where in the world you are, where in the world you are tuning in from. And so, in this session today, in this live session, we're going to be talking about how to have an online Reiki business without social media. What? Is that even possible? Yes, indeed it is. And I'm going to share with you how you can make it happen. So, welcome. Thank you so much for being here, Maria. It's great to have you here. Thank you so very much. So, I'm curious to know as well. Welcome, welcome from Alabama. Great to have you here. Thank you so very much. You know, I'm here in central Pennsylvania, and where I am in central Pennsylvania, it's been a warmer than usual winter. We did have some snow this past weekend. I was very excited. I thought I was going to get to go snowshoeing. That didn't happen. Our snow all melted. It turned to rain and then it all melted in a day. Now, interestingly enough, my parents live only 2 hours from me on the other side of the mountains, and they got 7.5 inches of snow. So, darn it, they got all of the snowshoeing snow. So, welcome, welcome, Dawn. Great to see you. Wonderful to have you here. Thank you, MJ. Great to have you. Deb, always wonderful to see you as well. So, thank you so very much. So, yes, today in this session, we're going to talk about how to have an online Reiki business without using social media, which might seem kind of crazy, right? Like, how is that even possible? But I will share with you some ways that you can make it possible. Now, I'm really curious. Drop it in the comments for me and let me know. How do you feel about social media? What is your relationship like with social media? What are your thoughts on social media? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Do you like it sometimes? Do you mostly not like it? Are you really tired of all of the fake profiles, the fake boyfriend requests, the fake reviews on your business page? Let us know how you feel about it and what your thoughts are on social media. Now, I will tell you that if you're tired of the fake boyfriend requests, guess what? Me too. I get them too. Like, what the heck? I get the fake boyfriend requests too. So I can't tell you how many, like 60-year-old men, 65, 70-year-old men have tried to friend me. It's hilarious. So, welcome, Sandra. Great to see you. Thank you. Leslie, always great to see you. Sandra says social media is time consuming. Yes, it is a lot to keep up with. It can be for sure. Luna likes using it. That's great. Feel free to tell us what you like about it as well. Feel free to tell us what you don't like about it. Leslie says, you're sick of it, but you also like it. Okay, there's some truth, right? There's some honesty. I'm sick of social media, but I also like it, right? Yes. Guess what? If you have a love-hate relationship with social media, if you find that one minute you just love it and you're really enjoying it, one minute you get sucked into it, and then the next minute you're saying, this is terrible, I need to get away from this, you are not alone. You are not alone for sure. As a matter of fact, social media is designed to suck you in and to bring you back. And it's almost like, binging episode after episode on Netflix. You love it, But then after like 10 episodes, you're like, ugh, I'm full up and I am done with this. And then you feel like maybe you just ate too much. Maybe you ate like a big burger and greasy pizza and fries and soda when you don't usually eat those things, and you feel like, ugh. Does that sound familiar? Does that resonate with you? Well, if that's the case, you're not alone, because actually social media is designed to suck you in. It's designed to be like the burger and fries and pizza. It's designed to be like the sugary soda. It's designed to be like Netflix, where you can just watch episode after episode and get sucked right in. So if this is you, you are not alone. You are in good company, because the Facebooks of the world, the Metas of the world, the X's of the world, previously the artists previously known as Twitters of the world, are designed to keep you on the platform. They're designed to get you there, to hook you there, and to reel you in and keep you there until you get to a point where you're kind of like, ugh, I am sick of this. Where you're sick of the fake boyfriends, you're sick of maybe the negativity, maybe you're sick of the challenges with the tech, the technological aspect of it, Sandra, and saying, ah, man, there's so much to learn and I just don't even know how to begin, and how it feels like a lot of work sometimes. Absolutely, for sure. If this is you, you are not alone. So know that you, for sure, are in good company, and know that these platforms are designed to bring you back and to keep you, and to have you binging and then saying, where did the time go? And oh my gosh, what have I done? And never again, I'm full up on all of this. But then, just like a love-hate relationship, you come back saying, oh, but I like it, but there are aspects of it that I like. So know that you are not alone. But all of this means that at some point, you might get to a point where you are just done with social media, or you're saying, I want to limit my use, I want to limit my activity, and I want to decrease the amount that I'm on social media, because it just feels like it's too much. It feels like a lot. Now, here's the thing, too. Many of us identify as sensitive people, empaths. Drop it in the comments for us and let us know if you identify as someone who takes on other people's energy, if you identify as a highly sensitive person, if you identify as someone who might be challenged with all kinds of negativity, all kinds of other people's energy, which of course you're exposed to that online, right? You know, when you go on social media, you're oftentimes going to run into comments, posts that don't resonate with you, that don't feel good to you, that feel like you are taking on other people's energy, and it leaves you feeling drained. I think that sometimes social media can almost be like a vampire. It can be very vampiric. And of course, in the Reiki community, we are familiar with and talk about energy vampires. I think that social media can be an energy vampire. I think it can be a time vampire. And really, in a way, those are all in the same, right? So, yes, MJ, thanks very much. Thank you, Michelle. Absolutely. By the way, everyone, I want to say as an aside, that after the live, I'll go back and I will acknowledge your presence here. I will respond to your comments. I will read all of them. And so if I don't catch your comment now, I will indeed go back and read them and respond to them later. I am honored to have you here, and thank you for being here with me. So know that your presence is greatly appreciated. So I thank you very much. But yes, there have been times when you've had to literally get off social media and meditate to calm yourself down. Okay, so now you've got all of this going on, the love-hate relationship with social media, the I don't know how I got sucked into this, but I know that it annoys me. I know that sometimes I'm just have had enough with it, but oh dear, oh no, I would love to have a distance Reiki business. I would love to have, holy cow, an online Reiki business? Drop it in the comments for me and let me know if you are thinking, I would love to have an online Reiki business, even while you are like, what the heck do I do with the whole social media thing? So let us know that you are interested in an online Reiki business. We've got smiles and stars, and yes, I love it. Welcome, welcome, Vonnie, to you as well. Yes, Inner Alchemy, Reiki, and Sound Healing. Yes, you want to have the online business, but oh no, don't you have to have social media? If you're going to have an online Reiki business, don't you have to be on social media? Don't you have to be posting every day? Don't you have to be going live? Don't you have to be getting on reels? And don't you have to be fill in the blank and fill in the blank? Don't you have to be tweeting every day, multiple times a day? And don't you have to be commenting? And don't you have to post? And don't you have to this? And don't you have to that? That would be great, Leslie. Yes, that would be great. Absolutely. Yes, Vonnie, you have a Facebook Reiki page and no one sees it. That's actually not uncommon. You are not alone. Just as an aside, yes, it is more challenging now to grow a Facebook Reiki page, a Facebook business page than it used to. I just released a video on the Standing Stones Healing YouTube channel about it. You are not alone. Not alone at all. But so what do? I'm going to give you 4 ways that you can build your online Reiki business online without social media. Now, I want to say a couple of things first before I do. I want to say, first of all, that if you are at the point where you're feeling that you're full up on social media, that you're done with it, that you would just love, love, love to get off of social media, I really want to encourage you first to ask yourself why, to really do some reflection and get at the heart of that. And rather than just saying something like, well, Christian, because everybody on social media is crazy. Well, if you're on social media, that would include you too, right? And you might be agreeing. But to really dig deep and ask yourself, what exactly can you pinpoint exactly what it is about social media that has you feeling like you want to get off of it? Is it the tech? Okay, if that's the case, what aspect of the technological stuff? Is it people's comments? Okay, what aspect of those comments makes you want to run for the hills? Is it the things that people are posting? Okay, what is it about that? Is it the fact that no one is liking or noticing your posts on your Reiki business page? Okay, get at the real heart of that first. Because when we have an aversion to something, when we feel like we really want to reject or run away from something, it's a point for us, it's an opportunity for us to really sit down and do some deep reflection and ask ourselves, what is that really all about? What's at the center of that? For some of us, it might be a fear of rejection. For some of us, it might be not liking when others disagree with us. For some of us, it might be a feeling that we don't like rudeness and we don't like impoliteness and we really like people to be considerate, and that some comments conflict with our idea of what it means to be considerate. And so this is a real opportunity for us to pause and reflect before just running away from social media. Now, I talk about that in this week's episode of the Build Your Reiki Business podcast. And so what I'm talking about with you on this live, I am also talking about on this week's episode of the Build Your Reiki Business podcast. So you can always tune in at standingstoneshealing.com/podcast. And if you are tuning in later, I'll drop the link down below so you can go there directly to that YouTube video. But I encourage first and foremost asking ourselves these questions. I also really want to encourage you in that reflection to ask yourself how you are using social media And are you using it in a way that almost kind of contributes to those negative feelings about social media? So to ask yourself how you are using social media and asking yourself if you are using it in a way that is contributing to those conflicting feelings that you have. You know, if you're not sure if you're even dealing with real people on the other end, yes, that can be the case. Maybe sometimes those fake boyfriend requests are from real people, and maybe not. Here's something I want to say as an aside on that as well. Thanks, Dawn, for bringing that up. Is that as artificial intelligence grows and becomes more sophisticated, we're going to have more. This is my belief that we're going to have more and more of a challenge of determining what is real, and that we're going to have more and more of a challenge of really understanding authenticity, and we're going to more and more crave authenticity. And so true authenticity, like showing up live on Facebook, yes, I'm a real person, ouch, that is going to become more and more important, and that being real and being authentic will be more and more important. I will tell you, I am not an AI avatar. I am real and in the flesh right now. And as AI becomes more and more sophisticated, we're going to have more and more questions about what really is real. And human, actual, real connection is going to become more and more important. And so for us as Reiki business owners, it's going to become more and more important for us to show up authentically, for us to be real, for us to connect, and for us to be authentic. And so I'm sending lots of blessings that as AI improves and as it becomes used more and more, that we as Reiki practitioners continue to show up in an authentic, loving, compassionate, and human kind of way. So sending blessings to being real for sure. So here we go. What are some ways? So yes, by the way, I encourage you to reflect upon your relationship with social media and asking yourself how you are using it. Because here's something that I mentioned in this week's podcast episode that I talk more about in the Build Your Reiki Business program, and that I feel is very important, is that once you become a Reiki business owner, your relationship with social media needs to change so that you are using social media more as a tool for connecting, more as a tool for community, more as a tool for growing your Reiki business and creating relationships than as a passive consumer kind of a tool. And so I feel that this is really important on our Reiki business journey, that once we become Reiki business owners, that we change the way that we are using social media. So here we go. Ways, I'm going to give you 4 ways that you can use, that you can build an online Reiki business without social media. Now, number 1 that I want to share with you is that I'm going to encourage you to have a way on your website that you are expressing value in a way that's going to bring people to your website. So number 1 is your website. Now here's the thing too, is that you actually don't have to have a website in order to have a Reiki business, and even in order to have an online Reiki business. You do not have to have a website for this. You do not. But when you are building an online Reiki business without social media, a website is going to be very helpful. You know, having social media when you have an online Reiki business is very helpful. It's not a requirement, but it is very helpful. But I do encourage that if you are going to have an online Reiki business and not use social media, or to really drastically decrease your use of social media, to have a website and to use that website in a way that conveys value, in that people are going to want to come to it. So what that means is that I'm going to encourage you to consider having on your website things like a blog where you are writing articles, and you are writing articles on topics that are of interest to your ideal Reiki business client. So whoever it is that you want to be serving. Now, in this week's podcast, I give the example of, let's say you want to work with people who are interested in using Reiki to improve their finances. And so then on your website, I encourage you to consider you may want to be writing articles and offering information geared towards those people who are having financial challenges and might be interested in using Reiki to help with those financial challenges. And so articles on how Reiki can help with money, articles on how to use your money in a spiritual kind of way, or how to be spiritual with your money, how to use your money in a higher vibe kind of way, how to raise your vibe to help you with your money challenges. And so writing these articles and having them on your website is going to allow people to find your website who wouldn't find your website through social media if you're directing them there. What that means is that when someone Googles something, for instance, like, can Reiki help me with money? Your website, your article on that can pop up. They can read that and they can be drawn to your website. So offering value from your website in the form of articles can be really helpful for you, or in the form of videos. So putting video content on your website as well can be very helpful too in bringing people to your website. Now, Christian, what kinds of videos? Videos all about things like the Reiki and money, videos about you and how you can help them, videos about ways that they can use Reiki for money and have a more spiritually uplifting experience of money. So any and all of those kinds of things that you might write an article about, you can absolutely do a video on too. Now, I do want to say, I mentioned it in this week's podcast episode, and I want to mention it here too, that YouTube is great for this. Now, here's the thing with YouTube. YouTube is technically social media, but not really. And it's not really because you can turn the comments off on YouTube. So now remember, I mentioned before really exploring your relationship with social media and exactly why it is that you're feeling some resistance to social media. Because if that has to do with like people's comments, I'm afraid of people's comments. Well, that's really helpful to know for something like YouTube, where you can turn the comments off. So you can take the social media aspect out of the social media of YouTube and just turn the comments off. I actually don't recommend that if you're looking to grow a YouTube channel, but if you are looking to have a place to house your videos, YouTube is excellent for that. Another thing that you can do is that you can even put your videos on YouTube that are unlisted, so no one can see them except if they go to your website. And there they are on your website. So you can just easily use YouTube to house your videos without having to use it as a social media platform where you are attempting to grow a YouTube following. So YouTube is great for that. It's free as well, so that is nice. There are some tricks to YouTube, of course, but it is really great just to have for holding your videos, housing videos. You know, on my YouTube channel, I have almost 500 videos. I'm coming up very soon in the next couple of videos on my 500th video. But there are not 500 videos available to view on my channel. Many of them are unlisted, which means that you can only view them in special places. And you can use your YouTube channel like that as well to bring traffic to your website by having your videos directly on your website, whether they are listed or unlisted, viewable or unviewable on your YouTube channel. So that's a great way to use video on your website without worrying about social media, that social media aspect of YouTube. So when it comes to our website, when you don't have social media, you're going to want to have a way to drive traffic to your website. Social media is really great for driving traffic to your website. For instance, I can use social media in this live to say to you, tune into this week's episode of the Build Your Reiki Business podcast at standingstoneshealing.com/podcast. That's a call to action to go to my website. If you don't have that ability on social media, you're going to want to find other ways to drive people to your website. That's ultimately where you would want people to be going. Typically, because for many of us, we are selling from our website. And if you're driving people to the store, if you think of your website like a store, if you're driving people to the store, you have a greater chance of making a purchase if people are in the store. So to get people to your website, putting things on it like articles that are of interest and videos that are of interest as well. So that's number one. Number two is to have a podcast. So podcasts are not social media in the sense that, there isn't the interaction. You don't have the comments, although on some podcast platforms, your audience can leave comments. You can also turn those off on the platform as well if you choose. You can, just like on YouTube, you can also have comments turned on, but you have to approve them before they're posted. So that's a possibility as well. But a podcast is a great way to reach people and to build an audience and to connect with people that is off of social media. So podcasts are really great for that. And podcasts are really simple too. Well, that's not completely true, because if you think about like RSS feeds and that pain in the butt, they're not as simple as they might seem, but they're still pretty simple. Depending upon your level of technological ability. And so having a podcast is a great way to bring people in, to connect with people while not being on social media. Now, I will say, as someone who has a podcast, that I really like it. I've had podcast-like programs before that were on my YouTube channel only. So Ask the Stones was a Q&A series that I had for a couple of years. And the Reiki Business Collective series, that is something that I also have on my YouTube channel. Those are two very podcast-like series that I have, but they're not podcasts themselves. I can tell you, as someone who now has a podcast, that I really like it, and that it's a great way to build an audience and to get people familiar with you and to connect with you. That's really what it's all about, whether it's on social media, on your website, on a podcast, YouTube channel, whatever it might be. The point is for people to get to know you. The point is for people to connect with you. The point is for people to be exposed to you and to get to know you and to hopefully like you and to trust you too, at least on some level. And that's what it's really all about. And a podcast can help you do that, because a voice, hearing someone's voice can be a very intimate kind of experience. I'm always so honored when people say to me, Christian, I listened to you in my car on my way to work. I'm like, oh my gosh, I love that. It makes me want to tear up. That's amazing. And, to just know that is such an honor. So thank you. So if you're thinking about a podcast, and thank you so much, Michelle. I'm so honored that you enjoy the podcast. Thank you. But Maria, if you're thinking about a podcast, yes, absolutely. It's a great way to get the word out there about your Reiki business, but more powerfully and more importantly, to just connect and to serve and to help people. And that's really what it's all about. So definitely I have on the list of podcast episodes to do about doing a podcast. So that'll be coming up on the podcast in the near future as well. So wonderful. So a podcast can be really great. Oh, I love it. You listen in the gym and in the shower. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that so much, Maria. That is an honor. Thank you. So, a third way that I want to offer for you for building an online Reiki business without social media is through being a guest on other people's podcasts. So, being a guest on other people's podcasts, reaching out to other podcasts and asking if you can be a guest on their podcast, because this will allow their audience to hear you and get to know you and find out what you do and hopefully get to like you as well. And so being a guest can be really great. Here's a challenge, though, with being a podcast guest without a social media following or without being on social media. Many podcasts are going to be interested in having you on if you have a social media following. Many of them are going to be interested in having you on because if you have a social media following, because they're going to want you to reach out to your audience and let your audience know about the podcast. They're going to want your audience to be exposed to your audience. They're going to want your they're going to want their podcast to be exposed to your audience. So it's important to consider that there are some podcasts that won't have you on if you don't have a social media following or if you're not active on social media. So that's something to keep in mind. But there are also plenty of newer podcasts that really want people on, and you can definitely get on a lot of those podcasts. So know that there are always podcasts looking for people. There are whole Facebook groups devoted to it. You can join those and find podcasts that are interested in having you on. Great question. What do I think about Clubhouse? Does Clubhouse even still exist? I thought it was gone. That's what I think about Clubhouse. I think that I was never on it. I was invited to be on Clubhouse, and you had to be on it on your phone. I believe you had to be on the app. And full disclosure, I don't use social media on my phone. That's one of my boundaries that I just choose not to cross, is that I'm very careful about my phone usage. And that means that I don't use social media on my phone. I've talked about that in the podcast before. I talk about it in a couple YouTube videos and in the Build Your Reiki Business program. But I don't know. Clubhouse might still be a thing. You might still want to do Clubhouse. I don't know. I've never used it, and I didn't even think it was still around. I thought it was gone, which means that it might not be the best space to try to build an audience on. So definitely a podcast guest. Yes, a podcast guest. Another way that you can do it is through the writing as well, but to be a guest article writer, to be a guest blogger on other people's websites and other people's websites, yes, other people's blogs, on other people's blogs. So you can be a guest blogger on other websites or blogs, like medium.com, for instance. So this is a way where you can get others to find out about you and your Reiki business, to expand your audience and to get them to know you and like you without having social media. So definitely that is another way to do it. So the guest aspect is number 3 of the blog and the podcast. Number 4, and then I'm going to share a 5th way with you as well. Number 4 is through article writing. And so this is through writing actual like trade publication articles. And so these articles might be something like for a Reiki magazine. So the Reiki Healing Association or the IARP, or some Reiki magazine, some Reiki publication where they're looking for articles and want to publish your articles. Reiki Rays, for instance. So these platforms can be great for writing articles that are recognized by the industry. And if you have a particular focus in your Reiki business for a client, a particular niche, like the money Reiki that I mentioned, for instance, helping people with money challenges with Reiki, then you may want to expand those publications beyond Reiki, and you may want to look at money publications, finance publications, spiritual publications, where you can write specifically about how Reiki can help with money. And so this is going to lend credibility to what you do. If you're published, whoa, let's say you publish an article in Forbes about Reiki and money. Whoa, that's going to lend you some big points for credibility. So article writing can be really powerful when it is with a trade publication, an industry publication. So that's number 4. Now, number 5, I have an interesting story about number 5, because when I went to, before I recorded this week's episode of the podcast, I wrote a list. I've got my list right here. Online biz without social media. And I just wrote some quick things down. When I record my podcasts, I don't write out long show notes. I might just write a list of things to talk about, and that's it. Whenever I wrote down my list, this was days before I recorded the podcast, maybe even almost like a week before I recorded the podcast. When I went to record the podcast, I looked at this list and I was like, resources. Why did I write that? I had website, blog and videos, podcast, guest blogger and podcast guest, article writing. I wrote one more that I didn't share on the podcast, and I'm not going to share today because I'll share it with you in a later podcast episode that's very important. But I looked at this list as I was talking and recording, and I'm like, resources. What did I mean when I wrote down resources? Why did I write that down? And so on the podcast, I talked about number 5, resources, and sharing resources, and even using your website as a place where you can house resources on the particular topic. So in the podcast, I talked about, if you're doing Reiki and money, Ken Honda's book, Happy Money, great book. And so I said, you could have a space on your website where you are sharing resources, curating and collecting resources, making sure that the resources on that are helpful and credible resources, and serving as a repository for resources. And so as I was recording the podcast, I was talking about this, and I'm like, I need to do that. I need to do that on the Standing Stones Healing website. And so I have done that. Now on the standingstoneshealing.com website, I have started and am formulating a website specifically to house Reiki business resources, not just my own, but others as well. So it is up, it is running, it needs a lot of work, but you can go there at standingstoneshealing.com/Reiki Biz Info. And so I'm starting to curate Reiki business content so that you can go directly to that website and find all kinds of Reiki business information, not just my own, but others as well. So standingstoneshealing.com/Reiki Biz Info. Yes, I will be adding to it. Yes, it needs some work, but it is a start. And I got that idea as I was recording this podcast episode for this week, as I was recording. And so I went back later and I was like, wow, that was a really great idea. Why did I write down, but what did I mean when I wrote down resources on the list? What did I mean? Because I didn't remember writing that down. And as I was recording the podcast, I was kind of like, what exactly did I mean? Well, I don't know what I meant, but this is a really great idea. I went back to look at the list afterward, and I'm talking like days later. The other day, I went back to look at the list. Resources is not on the list. When I was recording the podcast, resources was on the list. When I went back to look at the list, resources is not on this list. And so I can only say that that was divine intervention. That was divine guidance. Holy hell, angels, thank you so much. Because now we've got standingstoneshealing.com/Reiki Biz Info. Thanks to that stroke of divine insight while I was recording the podcast. And so you too can do that on your website, serve as a resource, bringing together resources and curating them for others to be able to use and benefit from. And so if that is money, Reiki for money, for instance, then bringing together all kinds of resources about money, about Reiki and money from across the web to help people, that also is a reason for people to come to your website and to get to know you, like you, and trust you. So those are 5 ways that you can have an online Reiki business without using social media. Do you want to do all of them? Yes, you can. Do you have to? No, you don't. You can choose one and go very deeply on it. So what that means is that you could choose article writing, for instance, and go very deeply on that by publishing in all of the Reiki magazines, all of the Reiki websites. You could go very deep on something like medium.com, and you can really publish lots and lots of articles on medium.com and grow a following there. You can have a podcast where you are really diving deep on the podcast journey and bringing people into your Reiki world with your podcast. So you don't have to do all of those. You can do one. But one thing I really want to encourage you is that it's going to take some time. So it will take more time to build an online Reiki business without social media than with social media, but indeed it is possible. So I really want to encourage you that yes, you can. If you are tired of social media or if you want to limit your social media exposure. Now, I also want to encourage you that if you are interested in building a distance Reiki business, including an online business, I have a workshop coming up in February all about it. I'm going to drop that down below in the comments so you can check it out. This is going to be a 2-hour workshop all about how to build your distance Reiki business. Now we'll focus on online because indeed that is really the number one way that people want to have a distance Reiki business, but from personal experience, I had a distance Reiki business on the phone that was not online. You can do it that way too, for sure. But we will focus on online Reiki business. And I'm going to be sharing with you all of the secrets, all of the things that you need to know about building an online, a distance Reiki business. So you can learn more and register on that link. Now, I will say that if you are a member of the Build Your Reiki Business program, this workshop, as you know, I've already informed you, is free. It is included with your membership. So if you're interested in learning more about that program, you can check it out at standingstoneshealing.com/build. It is not currently open for enrollment. There is a wait list, but yes, it will be opening again in the near future. But you can learn more about the program there. And of course, I'm always available to answer your questions. So please feel free to reach out. I saw some questions in the comments. I'm going to scroll up. I'm going to answer some of your questions. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat, in the comments for sure. But here we go. Leslie says some websites are free, at least for basic. Yes, this is true. And then you can upgrade if you want. They have great customer service. Great. Yes, absolutely. You can have a website. I will say that if you are looking to build a Reiki business without social media, to build an online Reiki business without social media, really having a website is a very good idea. Yes, there are ways around paying for a website. There are free website hacks. I share quite a few of them in the Build Your Reiki Business program. But if you are looking at building something long term, it's actually in your best benefit to just buy the domain and to build a website if you're looking to build long term. So do I think you should have a website for your Facebook page? Oh, yes. So should you have more than just a Facebook business page for your Reiki business? Yes, I think so. I think that's a good idea because it is harder to build a following on a Reiki business or any business Facebook page now. Like I said, I have a recent video on the YouTube channel, Standing Stones Healing, that you can go check out where I talk about that. It's one of my videos just published in the past couple of days about how, yes, I think that it's a good idea to have one. I encourage having one, but to not rely on it as your source, especially not your sole source for connecting with potential clients. Doris, great question. Main podcast platforms. I'll talk about it in the upcoming episode about podcasts. But podcasts are a great way. Let's see here. Dawn says, I feel like I'm contributing to the Facebook machine and dealing with it with several issues over the years. Yes, they are not a people-centered or compassionate business. Yes, I agree with that. Yes, I agree with that. One of the things that frustrates me about Facebook and Meta, because of course Meta owns Instagram and it's the same on Instagram, is with the fake profiles and not shutting those down and not doing anything about them. I think it's really negligent on Meta's part, but at the same time, the truth is they're a business and they frankly don't care. What they really care about is what is going to bring people to the platform and keep people there. They invest millions, billions of dollars in making their platforms in a way that gets you to the platform and keeps you there. They're set up for that. Just like I mentioned earlier about the idea of the candy, the cookies, the burgers and French fries and soda. It's just like that. And what does well on social media is often the cookies. Now, you'll see this frequently, right? Where people will post memes and everybody is liking them and sharing them, and it's great. Those are actually cookies. Those are content cookies. And those are things that people are going to love and just really gravitate towards because they're like a cookie. You know, who doesn't love a cookie? It tastes great in the moment. You taste it, it's like, oh, that was so good. But then the cookie's gone in like a minute. And so you laugh at the meme, haha, that's great, and you scroll on and you know, you probably forget it in the next couple of minutes, just like the cookie. And so that's something to consider, I think, when we're considering creating content is do we want to create wholesome, filling meals or do we want to put out cookies? You know, cookies are nice sometimes, but we can't feed ourselves on cookies alone. It's the same way I believe with our Reiki business. I'll talk more about this in the Distance Reiki Business Workshop on February the 10th. So, thanks, everyone. So great. I love to share with others. Resources are helpful and valuable. Awesome. Great. Does your webpage or Facebook page have to have the word Reiki in it? It's simply about living. Okay. You're talking right now, Maria, about key words. Keywords can indeed be very helpful when it comes to people searching for your stuff. Now, if your ideal client is looking specifically for Reiki, then yes, having Reiki on your website, having the word Reiki on your website can be very helpful. If you're offering Reiki, then yes, having Reiki on your website can be very helpful. But if you're not offering Reiki or if your ideal client is not looking for Reiki, then I encourage you to consider what are the words that they are going to be searching for. This is just basic search engine optimization. But search engine optimization, everyone, is really not so technically scary, technologically scary, or confusing as it might seem. All it is just making sure that your stuff resonates with the people who are going to be interested in it. That's all it is. So that if someone is searching for Reiki and you offer Reiki, to just make sure that you have Reiki on your website. So great. Michelle, don't sign up for the workshop because it's part of your Build Your Reiki Business membership. In other words, you'll get the Zoom link, Michelle. Did you see my email? Please tell me you saw my email that I said, do not sign up. But I'm glad you're interested and it will be great to see you there for sure. So thank you all so very much. It's great to see you here. I'm honored to have you here, honored to share with you these ways. You can listen in on this week's podcast episode to learn more, standingstoneshealing.com/podcast. And like I said, I'll drop that YouTube link down below so that you can go and tune into that episode for more on this topic as well. So I'm sending lots of blessings and best wishes to your relationship with social media. Love it or hate it. I am hopeful that this has been helpful to you. That workshop is on Saturday, February the 10th at 2 o'clock Eastern Time. It is a 2-hour workshop. We're going to cover a lot and we're going to have a lot of time for Q&A as well. So it'll be about an hour and a half of information and a half an hour of Q&A. So it will be a very packed and powerful workshop. Everything you need to know, all of the behind the scenes secrets to building your distance Reiki business, particularly online. So I'm sending you all so many blessings and best wishes to your Reiki business, including your online Reiki business without social media. And yes, indeed, if you want to learn more about the Build Your Reiki Business program, it is at standingstoneshealing.com/build. Thank you, Leslie. It is at standingstoneshealing.com/build. It is not yet open for the next round of enrollment, but indeed it will be in the near future. So if you're not already, get on that wait list. You will be the first to know and you will be the first to be invited to join. So thank you all so very much. Yes, Michelle, the workshop on the 10th is included because you are a Build Your Reiki Business member. It for sure is. So please don't register. Please don't pay. It is included in your membership. You will get the Zoom link and you attend for free. So thank you all so very much. I am honored to have you here. I'm sending you so many blessings and best wishes to your Reiki business.